It was extremely difficult and extremely complicated and extremely daunting, but I had no idea because I'd never done it before, so I just steamed in and did it. It was only years later, when I came to produce other shows, that I realised that they were a doddle compared to Robin of Sherwood. First of all, it was period. Secondly, there were huge crowds everywhere. Thirdly, there was a regular cast of 10 sometimes. Horses, children, fights, stunts, weather, woods, winter. Oh, God, some producers these days don't know they've been born. I tell you, in those woods, oh, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy or my greatest enemy.
There were elements, I have to say, in the third series that presupposed that there was going to be a fourth series, and I think one of the most important was the idea that I had that Robin, or rather Robert of Huntingdon, was in fact Guy of Gisborne's half-brother. And that takes a bit of constructing, actually, if you think about it for a minute. But it came to me because I was at a do or a party or something in Bristol, and I was talking to somebody. I said, "Isn't it interesting? There's only two blondes in the room, and one of them's the Guy of Gisborne, and the other one is Robin Hood. I think I'd better go."
Guy's father is the Earl of Huntingdon.
And does Guy know this?
No. It would only cause harm. The Earl has an heir.
I think he would have been absolutely horrified at the idea. He would have found that very difficult to cope with. Because Gisborne's mind tends to approach things in a fairly black or white fashion. And I mean, it's this or it's that. And that concept would have been too grey for him to cope with at all. So I think he really would have had a lot of trouble coming to terms with that idea.
The other thing about it was that it alibied the reason for why Robin didn't kill Guy of Gisborne when he got the chance. Because you think, why the hell doesn't he kill him? You know, there he is at his mercy. But if he knows he's his half-brother, he may find that a bit difficult. Now, he can't tell the rest of the Merrys, can he? Because it sort of diminishes him with the Merrys.
I know why you won't kill him. Tell me. Because you're the same. That's it, ain't it? That's what it is. You might be an old son, and he might be a knight, but you're the same breed. You're the same kind. That's why you won't kill him. Because you can't.
Here were these two blondes, deadly enemies. Guy of Gisborne out to kill Robin Hood at all costs. And then to discover that he was his half-brother.
So like your father. So unlike the son he gave me.
He's a victim of circumstances more than anything else, who finds himself in a situation that he's quite unprepared for, and doesn't fully know how to react to, except aggressively, because he's a soldier. That's what he does.
Stop! Guy, no!
Stand aside, Mother.
I forbid you to do this.
I said, aside!
Guy, what have you become?
What you made me.
Guy!
He's not intrinsically bad, as opposed to, say, Mordred and Excalibur, who is just evil personified.
Robert Addy was a gift to us all because A, he was a brilliant swordsman and a wonderful rider. It's very difficult to hit your marks on a horse, and Robert always did, so that quite apart from the concept of Guy of Gisborne, which he got in one, which is the complete cad, really the English public school cad, if you like, who goes to Sandhurst and is a total young fascist.
I liked him because he wasn't afraid to be not liked. And I think as an actor, very often you want to be liked. And he didn't care. And that's always interesting.
And he brought all this to the role, but as I say, he also had these other marvelous skills, techniques. He could fence, he could ride, and hit his marks on the horse. Brilliant.
Guy of Gisborne comes riding into Wickham Village and treads all over the cabbages and destroys my yearly crop of food for the village. And it was very wet underneath and very muddy. It had been raining for a few days. Robert was a fantastic horseman, and he could tread on each cabbage. That was done beautifully. He could turn the horse on a sixpence, and he turns his horse to ride out of Wickham Village, having done the damage. And he turned the horse, and the horse's head hit me straight in the face. And I went, oh, And then you could hear way back there, yeah, cut, what is it, what's wrong, come on, hurry up, we're losing, come on, what? I said, well, the horse has just hit me in the face, I can't, oh, come on, get on with it.
Playing my father's son on screen, it did make it easier for me.
Stay here with Elizabeth, Matthew. We'll be back.
I was filming a scene in the nunnery, and it was my birthday, it was my 13th birthday. And it was quite, well, for me, it was a heavy day shooting. It was a few scenes. And we'd set up for action. And Clive Mantle walked in and he had a birthday cake, which they prepared for me, which I had no idea about. And I was doing my best to be in the background and looking very sincere. And then suddenly they brought a birthday cake in with all these candles on, which was wonderful. And I've got photographs upstairs still from that. But it was just such a surprise. Because I was taking it all so seriously, surrounded by adults, thinking I've got, can't let my father down, I've got to be very good. And then suddenly, it was things like that which made me feel very, very welcome and at ease there.
Friar Tuck was a very advanced ex-monk, really, because he was quite happy to say, in my father's house there are many mansions, that there are all sorts of different religions, and not necessarily one being better than the other. So that he was very much more liberal than probably priests were at that time.
I've played Friar Tuck before in pantomime, and in pantomime it's very knockabout, it's very humorous, it's fun, it's enjoyable.
Phil Rose is a comedian, essentially a comedian. But he brought what he did bring to Tuck was that occasionally he had to be very serious. And because it was such a contrast with all the rest of the stuff that he did, this Rabelaisian rollicking friar, that when he was serious, it was quite moving because you weren't expecting it, and he played it very simply.
I did discuss with Kip at one point. I said, this man could have been a mercenary who had done his killing and then come into the church. He could have been a teacher and come into the church. He could have been anything.
Good luck.
There was many facets of Friar Tuck. In fact, there was a little bit of history to him as well. The episode Crom Cruach, I actually went back to my original monastery.
Has the devil sent an apparition to haunt me? Or is it Brother Tuck?
You look well, Father.
I am well. And all the better for having seen the back of you.
Stories that I knew just simply from my reading. Crom Cruach is a good example, what Paul always called my Brigadoon episode. Crom Cruach is a myth. It's from Ireland about a god who demanded horrible sacrifices, and that sparked off a story suggestion. I think my approach to any television series is always to have a strong interest, not just in the main character, who of course is going to get the bulk of the attention, but in the supporting cast, as it were. And what Robin had, which I think is unique in any television I've ever worked in, is that every one of the merry men and women had been beautifully defined by Richard Carpenter. They were all very much real characters in their own right. And I became very interested in their backstories. So, for example, in Crom Cruach, it was an opportunity to look at Friar Tuck when he was a young monk.
You tell me your friends have gone to Crom Cruach. There's no such place. There's been no such place for 100 years.
It just helped always in the structuring of a story to be able to look at not just one character, Robin, and follow him through to the end, but to look at the other characters too and to see where they went. Another example is in Crom Cruach, the love affair that Will Scarlett has, which was great to write as well, to especially with an actor like Ray Winston, to actually have him smooching.
I do remember at the time I was actually engaged to an actress who was about 4'11.5", and I'm 6'5.5", and it made for great comedy, you know, apart from anything else. And Kip was very taken with this in real life. He was absolutely fascinated by a relationship which was 18 inches difference, and so he incorporated that. So right from the word go, Meg Wickham came in, and she was ordained to be, you know, one of the smallest actresses they could find, with Claire Toman, who did a wonderful job. But that was again born out of real life.
Meg can't join us.
She's not going to. I'm taking her to Hathersage.
I know you're thinking I'm to blame, but I'm not. Because John feels the same as me. Don't you, John?
Yes, Les. You know I do.
Clive's a very good actor, a very strong actor. I don't think I gave him enough to do, really, as Little John. I wish I'd given him more. He was the noble right-hand man, which is a difficult part to play. Horatio is a terrible part to play compared to Hamlet. It's an awful part to play. But Clive brought it off, and he really did convince you that he was the strongest man on earth.
I've never been on another long-term series, but they, you know, we got on really well. I mean, we all shared the same caravan, which sometimes was not as fun as other times, but, you know, it was just, I just felt like we were all going for the same thing. It was a young crew, young cast, and we were all, you know, there were food fights when we were shooting on location all the time, and we loved having guest stars down there and ribbing them and everything.
People were very eager to appear on Robin of Sherwood. They were very eager because it's kind of like, it's like The Professionals or Starsky and Hutch or Cagney and Lacey. It's something that one always wants to do from when one's tiny, isn't it? Give them a sword, give them a horse, you know, give them a portcullis and a castle, and they're very, very happy. I think, yes, people were always eager to do it, I think. And also because everybody knew that we had a happy ship as well, and so everybody wanted to come and have some fun.
Edgar! Robert. Or should I perhaps call you Robin Hood?
We did have one amazing food fight where all the cream cakes had gone off because we were in the middle of the summer and they'd been sitting out for too long. So we weren't able to eat them. And that was just like... we were in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere, as we often were, and we just went, you know, crazy. And I remember that Ian Ogilvy was the guest star, who was being very mature and smoking a pipe. And I thought, I mean, he must have been about 35, but he seemed to... Anyway, he was being very mature. And we dragged him out, and he became part of the food fight. And I've never seen someone turn so completely different. I mean, he just became a child and was running around and throwing. In the end, we have to say, "Yeah, stop! We got to go back to it." And we're covered in cream. So there were some really good memories.
When you're lucky enough to be in a major film series for 3 years, off and on for 3 years, you certainly learn a lot more about camera technique and about acting technique, in as much as that you really must hit the same emotion each time, and you might be doing... We were very lucky. There was a lot of money behind us, I assume, and therefore we did do quite a lot of takes. And so you had to make sure you could come up with the goods each take, and that was something I hadn't done before. I hadn't done as many takes on anything I'd done before in Brideshead or Heat and Dust as we'd done on Robin of Sherwood. So, you know, to make sure you actually came up with the goods each time was something which I put to good use in the shoot for Robin.
I learned a lot, as I say, about just being on film every day and going to watch rushes, going to see, you know, what we'd done, how it worked, and watching other people. I mean, again, the guest stars were really interesting when they came in. Seeing someone come in a totally alien environment, hopefully they felt comfortable quite quickly.
It became apparent that if we invited somebody who was really quite famous to play something that was different from a part they normally played, then they would jump at it. And the prime examples of Patricia Hodge doing an Edith Evans with no makeup, and Ian Ogilvy being a baddie, and Dorothy Tootin, who was hardly ever seen on television, God rest her soul, because people thought that she was a great theatre actress, which indeed she was, but she liked nothing more than doing telly and television that was popular and television that people would see and that people would see all over the world.
I will never forget my very first visit to the Robin Hood set, where I had written that there was to be this swap of a ransom, etc., in the middle of a field with a ruined church. And I described it very carefully, how the church should look, etc. And I remember turning up and getting out of the car, and there was a field, and there was the ruined church that I had written about. And I just remember thinking, this is incredible. How could they have found something that was so perfectly my vision of, and it was off the page and into reality. And I walked out of it almost aghast, and it was only when I actually got close enough to touch it that I realized, of course, that the whole damn thing was made of plastic and wood and had been mocked up. As a writer, I tend not to visit sets ever, mainly because I always feel a bit of a spare thumb. I always feel unwanted, that, I've done my job, the script is gone, and the actors now want to be left on their own. I visited Robin of Sherwood set many times, or certainly a few times, mainly because it was such enormous fun. I have a memory of going onto the set. It was actually on Adam Bell, and they'd set up quite a complicated shot with a ruined castle and Nicholas Grace with a donkey and a boy. I can't now even remember what the three of them were doing together, but it seemed to have taken forever to set it up, and Nicholas came on, and to my absolute astonishment, he suddenly burst into song.
Little donkey, with your precious load.
I had great fun going down to Bristol, sometimes being driven down by Paul, for these wonderful evenings of drinking and eating and chatting and laughing. And it was incredible how people could drink, it seemed to me, into the small hours of the morning and still be up, on set, made up, doing their lines and doing everything perfectly a few hours later.
The funniest thing I ever saw was in the episode of Rudder King, where Ray Winston is probably the roughest, toughest diamond you'll ever see on screen. But he wouldn't go anywhere near those little piglets. He wouldn't pick them up to save his life.
I was really surprised with myself. I love pigs. I think pigs are all right. And there was this mad little pig. Every time you go on with it, it just went ballistic. And it was, I remember it jumping all over me. I think it weed all over me. And in the end of the day, I don't want to have a pig no more. Don't want to have pigs. The only pig I'll have is on a bacon sandwich. That'll do me. That's enough.
I didn't dare hope. I mean, obviously I wanted to be in Robin of Sherwood because I'd been so close to it for so long. But it's very difficult to come in from the outside like that, especially when everybody knows you're the writer's wife.
Oh, you are a naughty boy. You must know you're naughty.
In fact, I built the part up a little bit after I knew she'd got it. But what happened was, I was talking to the casting director, and she said, "Who do you think could play it?" And I said, "Well, somebody quite near home." And she said, "Yeah, what a great idea."
I took it. I took it.
We were very lucky actually to have Annie, I have to say that, because she had to tote this very heavy young pig around, and rather than upset the pig too much by picking it up and putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, she did what the character really does, is to love this pig and hold it in her arms for long, long periods of time.
Don't you cry, Cedric. He's coming back. Yes, I promise, yes. He's going to come back to us.
I managed to get a nice, comfortable sort of position, and I held one of his front legs and one of his back legs underneath, so he couldn't really struggle much, and then I tried to keep him calm.
During which, of course, it fulfilled all its natural functions all over her.
I could sort of feel it happening, and I could smell it happening too, and I could sort of feel this sort of gush of yuck all going down the front of my dress.
She smells as evil as she looks.
Where's Ratakin?
Ratakin?
The pig, my lord.
Ah, yes. The little devil.
Oh, he can be. He can be.
Ah, she confesses!
Proper little devil sometimes.
The last thing I did was this double episode. By that time, I think I'd gone slightly mad with Robin of Sherwood, and it was called The Time of the Wolf. It was a very complicated script that I wrote, with very complicated ideas. One Jewish idea, the golem idea, the clay man who is brought to life, which is way, way away from Robin of Sherwood, really, but it's a sort of myth. The concept of the episode is that somebody creates a Robin double. Obviously, the double is played by Robin. Now, in order for everybody to accept that this wonderful man, Robin of Sherwood, has suddenly become an absolute evil sod, which is the double, they've got to accept that he looks identical to him. Now, the director, in his infinite wisdom, decided that the way to tell the difference was that the double was going to have fangs. Anybody seeing the double with these teeth would know it wasn't Robin of Sherwood.
Who are you?
Hern's son.
No. You are Gulnar's creature.
So the whole concept of the script went out of the window because of these teeth. So I now refer to this episode as not the time of the wolf, but the time of the teeth.
I do feel that the character progressed throughout the series. He started as the son of a lord, and so had lived a very different life to the rest of the Merry Men. And it was quite good because there was a sort of resentment there initially, and in the characters, and then that slowly dissipated. And it took a while for Robin to establish himself and to state his authority. And by the end, I feel like they were all completely behind him, and I think that was nice that it took that time.
I like your dress. Goes with your eyes.
That's what the king said.
Did he?
You jealous?
Jealous? No.
And also the whole relationship with Marion slowly grew, and it was very progressive. And unfortunately, at the end, she went to a nunnery, which, there you go, you can't win them all, I suppose.
I liked the last scene when I went into the nunnery with Jason. I was quite pleased with that one.
We said we'd never be parted.
I need to be at peace. And I found it here in Halstead. Let me live in your heart. But let me go.
I think I could have talked her out of it in the full series. You never know, can I? I would have had a go anyway.
The actress Judy Trott didn't want to do a fourth series. And so, in a way, I think the idea of her being tucked in a convent was already a bit of a convenience.
I'd got Robin Hood when I was very young, when I was very new to the business, and I felt that, to do anything for too long might just typecast you in that particular role. But and I think I wanted to sort of go and tread the board, so to speak. I was thinking that maybe the 3 series were enough. I was lucky that he did sort of say, had I wanted to come back, then I could have come back.
Maybe we'd have married her off to Robert of Huntingdon. Maybe Guy of Gisborne would have killed her, and then Robert would have been forced to the ultimate thing of killing Guy of Gisborne, because I think he would have been pretty pissed off if he was going to marry Maid Marian, and then suddenly his half-brother kills her. So it could have ended in a bloodbath. But fortunately it didn't. Instead of ending with a bang, it ended with a bit of a whimper.
All the elements were there for the show to continue to run for many years. In America, that show would have run for 5 years. But in England, they take short. We do 6 this year, 7 another year, maybe one year you do 13. But it's terribly short term in England.
If the show had gone to a 4th series, what would I have liked to have seen happen? Gisborne for sheriff. I was having the posters made up and the badges and everything.
It's always been a bit of a, not an annoyance, it's just one of those things. It's like the legend of King Arthur. Because King Arthur was never seen to die, he will live forever, and I guess the same with us. I would like to have seen it taken to a logical conclusion where the battle against Prince John, we either win or we lose, and we end up splitting off and going into the forest and going our separate ways, or being killed in one almighty, Alamo type fight. I think that would have been great.
I'd love there to have been a 4th series, and it's a great, great loss that there wasn't, because we're all having such a good time, and it's very sad that Jason wasn't able to make another series as Robin.
Well, I felt as though there were certain things that had just been not resolved, but the fact that I was now the leader and unquestionably the leader had just kind of really happened. And then I felt as though we could have gone off. I mean, I'd loved it if we'd gone on the Crusades or something and maybe shot an episode in, I don't know, in the desert somewhere in Spain or I don't know, wherever, and just really opened it up. And I know Kip was pretty excited, had a lot of ideas, and we were all ready to go. And it was just one of those things.
I would have loved for Kip to have completed the circle as far as Robin Hood was concerned. We all had our, we used to theorise for hours and hours and hours about how we would like, how we would like it to all end, and that for each and every one of us there will be a different answer. But Kip, I know, would have blended it into the most magical ending, which it would have been a bit like the last episode of MASH. It would have just had, its audience sat there, lumps in throat, tears pouring down their cheeks, and it would have been the consummate ending to any Robin Hood story.
It'd be interesting to see us all back now, wouldn't it? 15 years later, it was old men, eh? Like my favourite Robin Hood was actually Sean Connery. I thought it was I thought Robin and Marion was a fabulous film. Great look at an old Robin Hood, I thought that was fabulous. That'd be quite interesting. See us all come back like that.
I would have liked to have seen the characters grow even more, for us to have more backstories come out. It was lovely when we were able to bring out backstories like Crom Cruach with Scarlett's wife and all of that, and Little John and what was she called, his girlfriend, Meggie. Things like that. I would have liked those stories. I loved the stories about the characters, because after all, there are only so many ways into Nottingham Castle and only so many ways out. And there was only one King Richard, one King John. What else can you do? You've told an awful lot of stories. We were very lucky, I think, that we went for as long as we did with the spin, with the magic spin, with the sword and sorcery, which made it different again for viewers and for a new generation of viewers. But there are only so many people you can rescue, so many baddies that you can steal the taxes from. And I guess it came to a natural end.
The 4th series sadly didn't get terribly far because Showtime had a change of management. They weren't prepared to finance it to the extent they had in the past. HTV would only put in half the money. So there was already a deficit appearing for Goldcrest, who supported the 3rd series with a big deficit.
And I guess HTV was a small company and couldn't go it alone. Although I remember years later when I sat with John Burt at the BAFTAs, and he asked me what I'd done before, and I told him. And he said he had been very keen on Robin of Sherwood, and I said, oh, well, you didn't help when we needed you. When he'd been at London Weekend, that was.
It was a shame, but we all got on and did our things and went off, and it was just like I didn't feel as I put a full stop on the end of it.
I'm sneakily proud of having written what I believe is the last scene ever shot for the entire series. And I think it's one of the best scenes I ever wrote. I think it was shot after the wrap party even, when everybody was completely hungover from the night before.
Why'd you hate us? What's so special about us?
I'll tell you, I hate you for what you are. And what you stand for. There's a difference, isn't there? You're outlaws, thieves, murderers. But you stand for freedom, for justice, for the people. I hate you because you think so highly of yourselves. Look at you, living in this squalor. Dispossessed, doomed, but you refuse to see it. What I hate most about you is the legend that surrounds you. What are you? Peasants and simpletons. And yet the people look up to you and even respect you. Why?
But you haven't told us the real reason why you hate us so intensely.
Yes?
You're afraid of us.
And it's a very, very emotional scene, I think. And I think it has that added quality of having been the last thing shot.
I will always remember them as being a wonderful bunch of guys who came together to make a daft series called Robin of Sherwood, which was pure entertainment, worked bloody hard to make an extraordinary number of quite difficult episodes sometimes, under sometimes very difficult conditions, because a lot of it was shot out of doors, and you know what it's like in this country out of doors. Preserved their senses of humour, had very few rows, and still meet up. Still meet up. And it's a long time ago. And there are not many shows where that happens. And if I was in any way responsible for people having a friendship that has lasted, then I'm very proud of that. I'm sort of as proud of that as I am of the series, because that's even more important than the series, actually. It really is.
Protect us.
I think we'll all look back on it and think we were very lucky to be there, and that's mainly due to Paul Knight. So thank you very much, Paul Knight, for getting us all together.
I wish we could do it again. I wish we could do that quality of work, be allowed to do that quality of work again.
I look on Robin, and I'm sure everyone else will say the same thing, as being a wonderfully privileged time to have this atmosphere of dedication to stories and to character and to making good television that people will enjoy, rather than to having a job and earning a living.
Prime Minister!
Robin was just a great wedge of your life, which just we look back on, all of us look back on as maybe our greatest days. Who knows?
I'm proud to have been a part of Robin of Sherwood. It means a lot to me. It was a great part of my life. I've made some great friends who I'm still good buddies with, and it was a wonderful experience.
As a whole, I just have very, very fond memories of the whole experience, really. And I was sad that it didn't go again, as I think most of us were.
I just loved doing it. I learnt a great deal from Paul and Kip, a great deal from the directors, and from the boys too. We all learned from each other.
It was a great education. I met some of the the best friends, you know, that anyone could ask for, and they're still my best friends. I went to some beautiful locations, and I've met people from all over the world from it, so that I'm forever thankful.
It is kind of bizarre seeing myself running around with long hair and looking about 12 years old, but I just hope that people enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.